In the small town of Okoro, there was a poor orphanage called Home of Hope. The building was old, the roof leaked when it rained, and the beds were made from thin wood and worn-out mattresses. But the children loved it because it was the only home they knew. There were 20 children, the youngest was only 4 years old and the oldest was a boy named Chike, who was 16. They were taken care of by Mama Esther, a kind woman who gave them food, taught them songs, and told them stories at night. Even though life was hard, they laughed together and dreamed of a better future. One evening, just after the children had eaten boiled yam for dinner, strange men came into the compound. They wore dark clothes and carried long sticks and ropes. Mama Esther quickly told the children to hide, but before they could run far, the men broke the door and grabbed them. The children screamed, but no one in the neighborhood came to help. Most people were afraid of trouble. The men pushed the children into a big van, tied their hands, and covered their eyes with cloth. Mama Esther tried to fight them, but one of the men pushed her down, and she fell hard on the ground. The journey in the van was long and rough. The road was bumpy, and the children could hear dogs barking and the sound of frogs in the night. Some of the younger children were crying, calling for Mama Esther. Chike whispered to the others to keep quiet, because he knew that the men would be angry if they made noise. After about 2 hours, the van stopped. The kidnappers dragged them into a small, dirty house in the middle of the forest. The place smelled bad, like rotten food. They were locked in one big room, with only one small window that had iron bars. Days passed. The kidnappers gave them little food, mostly dry bread and dirty water. They told the children that if their rich friends wanted them back, they must pay a big ransom. But the children knew the truth. Nobody in the orphanage had money. The kidnappers didn't care. They said they would sell the children to big men in the city. Chike felt fear in his heart, but he also began to think of a plan. He remembered the stories Mama Esther told them about brave people who escaped from danger. He told himself that if they did not try to run away soon, it might be too late. One night, while the kidnappers were drinking and laughing in another room, Chike went to the small window. He noticed that one of the iron bars was loose. He whispered to Ada, a clever 13-year-old girl, to come and help him. Using a small metal spoon they had been given for eating, they slowly dug at the wooden frame around the bar. It was hard work, and they had to stop whenever they heard footsteps. After 2 nights of quiet work, the bar was finally loose enough for a small person to squeeze through. But they had to be careful. The forest outside was dark and full of snakes. Chike decided that the smallest children would go first. They would be carried on the backs of the older ones. But before escaping, they needed to distract the kidnappers. Ada came up with an idea. She would pretend to be sick. The next evening, she lay on the floor groaning loudly. One of the kidnappers came in to check on her. While he bent over, Chike and 2 other boys quickly grabbed his stick and pushed him into the room, locking the door from the outside. The other kidnappers were outside, still drinking and shouting. This was their chance. Quietly, one by one, the children squeezed through the window. The older ones carried the smaller ones on their backs or held their hands. The forest was cold and full of strange noises. Owls hooted, and insects buzzed in the dark. Chike led the way, remembering that when they came in the van, he had heard the sound of running water. He followed the sound until they reached a small stream. They drank some water and washed their faces, then followed the stream, hoping it would lead them to a village. After walking for hours, they saw a faint light in the distance. It was a small farmer's hut. The farmer, an old man named Baba Musa, was shocked to see so many children in the middle of the night. When they told him what had happened, he quickly hid them inside his barn and gave them roasted corn to eat. At dawn, he went to call the village head and the local police. The police came with motorcycles and guns. They followed the children's footprints and caught the kidnappers still sleeping in their hideout. The children were taken back to the orphanage. Mama Esther cried when she saw them. She had not slept since they were taken. The whole town came to see the brave children who escaped. The police praised Chuck and Ada for their courage and said they were heroes. The government promised to repair the orphanage and give the children better protection. For the first time in a long while, the children felt safe again. From that day, Chuck always told the younger ones, no matter how poor you are, never think you are powerless. The story of their escape spread to nearby towns, and people started bringing food, clothes, and books to the orphanage. Even though they had gone through great fear, the children learned the power of courage, teamwork, and hope. They knew that no matter how dark the night, the morning would always come, and they would be ready to face it together.